everyone. Welcome to the How to Vegan podcast, or welcome back to the How to Vegan podcast. If you have listened to any of my previous episodes, I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be a really, really fun episode. I have been wanting to do this one for a while, but I keep putting it off because more and more vegan food swaps, vegan alternatives keep popping up in the stores. And I'm like, well, I got to try that. I got to know about that before I do this episode. But it's time. I just want to share with y'all because if you're a new vegan, I think it's really helpful to know what other people think is good and what other people's opinions are on said product before spending $8 on it and realizing that's not very good. So I've been excited to share this with you because I think this is a perfect thing for new vegans to kind of have in their arsenal some opinions on products and just to hear what my favorites are, because I think it's so interesting to know what other people's favorite vegan products are. This episode is sponsored by Holier. Holier is an amazing plant-based wellness brand designed for the needs and values of people living a plant-based lifestyle. Y'all know I've been taking their vegan multivitamin for a long time now, years, and I absolutely love them. Like, they're the best vegan multivitamin that is out there, in my opinion. I love them. I'm going to give you more information on Holier later. I also have a little discount code for you too if you want to try them out, so definitely stay tuned. We'll talk about them in a little bit. I'm actually recording this podcast in my parents' closet right now, so hopefully the sound is okay. I got really sick of sticking my head in that little soundproof box that I started using a few months ago, and so we're trying the closet out. Hopefully it sounds good because I'm way more comfortable in here than sticking my head in a little stuffy soundproof box thing. So hopefully the sounds good because this is way more comfortable for me. Okay, before we start talking about my favorite vegan food swaps, just a couple things that I want to note. I know everyone has different taste buds. What I think is really good, you might think is really gross. And that's just how it goes. That's so don't take my word 100% for it and just assume that because I like it, you're going to like it, because everyone likes different things. That's part of what makes humans really cool. So keep that in mind, that just because I love it, you might not love it. And it's maybe worth it for you to kind of try some products out for yourself. I just thought it'd be fun to kind of share what I think is delicious, or at least the best option out of what's out there. I haven't tried everything. To be honest, I try to limit the amount of processed foods I eat. I don't have access to all the vegan products out there. I don't live in LA or New York or somewhere where there's literally all the vegan products out there. I live in Idaho, and we just don't get everything all the time, and some of the stores get things randomly. I tried to find some certain products that I wanted to try before putting out this episode that I've heard people say are good, and I couldn't find them, so keep that in mind as well. Plus, a lot of this shit is pretty expensive, like $8 for a thing of sour cream. And when I'm at the store, I'm like, ooh, I kind of want to get that, or I could just make it myself for a lot cheaper, or I don't really need that because that's $8. If you have the money and you want to just stock up on this stuff, go for it. For me, I'm kind of like, I don't really want to spend money trying that out. There's so many things out there you could spend a shit ton of money on, and new things are coming out all of the time. So these are my favorites as of now, fall 2021. Probably the day after I put out this episode, another new thing's going to come out that I didn't try before this. So keep that in mind too, that there's going to be new stuff that keeps coming out that's going to be better than the stuff that I mention. And I'm going to be talking about store-bought swaps in this episode. There are definitely homemade swaps for most, if not all, of these things, but I wanted to let you know my favorite store-bought options, things that are easy to just go to the store and grab, which I think is really helpful, especially if you're a new vegan or transitioning to vegan or trying to eat more vegan or more plant-based. Then these are good options to know that are out there. Like, hey, I'm really craving this. I can go to the store and get this store-bought option and don't have to make something. They're just easy to grab for that kind of transition time or special occasion or every day if that's your jam. And the options these days are pretty great. When I first went vegan 10 years ago, I've been vegan 10 years as of October 5th, 10 years. When I first went vegan 10 years ago, the options were limited, not good at all. The cheese was really bad. It was pretty bad. The options were limited. And if you've been vegan for a while and have tried some of this stuff, maybe try it again, because companies are always reformulating their recipes. And so like an example is the Daya cheese. It used to be so bad. I could not understand why anybody would ever eat it. And they've reformulated most of their recipes and they're way better now. Way better. So keep that in mind that companies will be reformulating. If I say something's like super disgusting or that I don't like it at all, maybe in a year or a couple years or 6 months or whatever, they'll reformulate and it'll actually be good. So keep that in mind too. But yeah, the options were limited, way limited, like not good. And now the options are amazing. There's so many options for almost everything. So if you're just going vegan recently or trying to transition, then you're much luckier than I was when I first went vegan 10 years ago, because it was pretty much like abysmal. There weren't very great options at all. And I'm going to be talking about like the big main stuff as far as alternatives go, not every little thing like Cheez-Its and specific candy bars and like eggnog, like kind of just the main substitutions that you would want to make if you were starting to go vegan or wanting to go vegan or a new vegan. This episode would just be way too long if I talked about every little thing. But if you have suggestions on stuff you'd like me to talk about, like my favorite swap for this or that, let me know and maybe I'll do a part 2 someday. Okay, I think that's it as far as little things I want to mention before I dive into my favorite vegan food swaps. So let's get into it. Okay, let's start with the dairy category because I think that's definitely the hardest thing for most people to give up or stop eating when they are wanting to go vegan, transitioning to veganism. So I think that's a good place to start. Let's start with milk. So my favorite plant milk is unsweetened soy milk. I used to be an almond milk fan. I used to make my own almond milk at home. All of a sudden, it just started tasting so watery and like cardboardy to me. So my favorite as of now is like unsweetened soy milk. I find it to be definitely creamier than other non-dairy milks. It's higher in protein than other plant milks. I just prefer the taste of it. My favorite soy milk is the West Soy organic soy milk. It's in those aseptic containers that don't have to be refrigerated till they're opened because it's super simple ingredients. It's just filtered water and organic soybeans. If you look into, most of the soy milks that are on the shelves in the refrigerated section are filled with gums and preservatives and thickeners and stuff like flavorings and stuff. I just kind of like the super simple organic soybeans and filtered water vibe. So that's usually the kind that I prefer. The 365 brand, the Whole Foods brand, organic, aseptic, unsweetened soy milk is great too, but not everyone has a Whole Foods around. You can find that West Soy milk in more places. And we've also lately been getting the Silk unsweetened organic soy milk because it's fortified, and Max, my 14-month-old, needs fortified soy milk to be able to make sure he's getting enough calcium and such. So we've been going with that one, and he seems to like the flavor of it. I don't love the flavor of any Silk products for some reason. I just don't love it, but he likes it, so we've been getting that one too. And I never just drink milk. I'm using it in like oatmeal, cereal, smoothies, and baking. So soy milk, that's my vibe right now. I'm just on that soy milk train. If I'm getting a coffee, like if I'm getting a latte, I'll put usually coconut milk. If it's iced, I'll do oat milk. So I usually don't get soy milk because sometimes they just use weird tasting soy milk at coffee shops and you just never know. They vary in taste a lot. Like some are great, others have a weird taste. So again, try them out, find out which ones you like. But right now I'm on an unsweetened soy milk kick. Cheese. Probably the hardest thing to give up for most people. My favorite slices are the Daya cheddar and American slices. I put those on sandwiches. I like those a lot. They melt well, I think. The Follow Your Heart smoked Gouda is super tasty too. That one's really good for non-vegans because it has like a smoky taste, so a lot of non-vegans prefer that one. I used to hate Daya cheese and now I like it. Like I'll try the Chow and the Violife and Miyoko's and all that stuff, and I just still like, for like sandwiches and grilled cheese and stuff like that, I like the Daya, the cheddar and American, and you can find those most places, which I really like as well. My favorite cheese shreds are the Daya cutting board series. It has to be the cutting board series, I believe, or maybe it says made with chickpeas, or maybe they reformulated all of them because they used to be awful. But the Daya cutting board series shreds, those are great, I think, on pizza and anything like that. My favorite spreads, like cheese spreads, are probably the Miyoko's Creamery vegan cheese wheels. Those are delicious, like so good. I think there's like a smokehouse cheddar one that I really, really like. Again, these are so expensive, so I hardly ever buy like cheese like this, like spreads, because they are so expensive. But if you're making like a cheese board or having people over or having like a wine and cheese night or whatever, there's lots of options out there. I think right now I just like the Miyoko's Creamery vegan cheese wheels the best. I also really, really love a local company's cheese spreads, probably more than the Miyoko's. They're called Kula Connection. Maybe someday they won't be so local. So try to find locally made vegan cheese in your area, like vegan cheese spreads. Maybe you can find something local and you can support people that way. Why not? Especially if it's delicious. And then there's lots of cheese options now, like really good Parmesan. The Violife, just like Parmesan, it's like a wedge and you grate it. That stuff's delicious and looks and tastes a lot like Parmesan. Feta, the Follow Your Heart feta crumbles are so good. So good. They're already crumbled, and so like unlike the Violife ones where it was kind of like a block that you had to like cut and it was mushy kind of, it tastes good, but the Follow Your Heart feta crumbles are so good. Again, I think they're pretty expensive, but they're really, really good. So there's lots of options for cheese out there. Those are my faves. Okay, yogurt. I don't really eat yogurt. I used to kind of eat yogurt, but now I don't because it's been really hard to find a vegan yogurt that I like that isn't just chock full of sugar and weird ingredients. So I do like coconut milk yogurts the best I've found. They're kind of like the creamiest and like don't have a weird aftertaste typically. I think the one that I like the best is Koyo. Again, very expensive, and I just don't really feel the need to eat a lot of yogurt. But if you're a yogurt fan and you haven't tried Koyo, try that one because I'm pretty sure that one is the one that I like the best. It's been a while since I've had it. Yoplait now makes a dairy-free yogurt called Oui, like the French word, O-U-I, Oui. And you have to make sure it's a dairy-free kind because they make ones that look the same that aren't dairy-free. And I bought one time and was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't eat that. I noticed it before I ate it. But it comes in a glass jar. You can reuse the cute little glass jars. So those ones are really good too if you're looking for something kind of similar to traditional dairy yogurt. Mayo. My favorite mayo is just Mayo. Where the hell have you been? I can't find it anywhere. I literally can't find Just Mayo anywhere. It was out for like a minute, maybe a week, and now it's gone. But it's really good. That one I think to me has the best flavor and texture. But because I can't find that shit anywhere, I use the Follow Your Heart Veganase, Veganase, Veganase. I call it Veganase. Don't know what it is. But we can find it wherever we're shopping. Anywhere I'm going shopping, I can find it. So that's what we use. I think it tastes good. That one's my favorite after the Just Mayo because I can't find it anywhere. My favorite cream cheese is the Trader Joe's cream cheese. I think it tastes good. I think that the texture is pretty good. That one right now is my favorite. I did see somebody say something recently how it used to be their favorite and they tried it and now it's different. So I don't know. It's been maybe a couple months since I tried it. But the Trader Joe's I think has the best flavor. And then the Kite Hill plain cream cheese I think is really good too. Coffee creamer. My favorite coffee creamer is currently the Silk Oat Milk Creamer, the oatmeal cookie one. That's what it's called, the oatmeal cookie one. Love it. I think it's a good texture. I think that it tastes good. It's creamy. It's sweet, but it's not too sweet. I don't know. It just tastes good to me. Every time I try something different, I'm like, oh, I just want that one back. We were using the Califia Farms hazelnut creamer for a while. That's good. There's a ton of vegan creamers out there, like a ton. So those are the ones that I'm into currently, but there's so many out there that you can just start trying them and see which ones you like. Whipped cream. My favorite whipped cream is the So Delicious Cocoa Whip. You find it in the frozen section and it's in like a, little tub and it is so good. It's so good. I could just eat it like ice cream. It's so good. That one's my favorite whipped cream by far. Butter. My favorite butter is Earth Balance Original Buttery Spread. I just think it tastes good. I think it's easy to spread. That's my favorite. And they have vegan buttery sticks too, so really good for baking or if you prefer your butter in stick form. Those are delicious and work great in a substitute for baking. The Miyoko's cultured vegan butter, I know a lot of people are going to be like, that Miyoko's one is way better. Yeah, it tastes a lot better than the Earth Balance that I usually get, but it doesn't spread well. Like, it's super hard. I try to spread it on my toast and I just mash my toast up. Like, I like that the Earth Balance spread is easier to spread. Miyoko's definitely tastes better, for sure, but I just like that the buttery spreads easier. So I get that one. I know a lot of people love the shit out of ranch dressing, and I'm one of those people too. My favorite ranch dressing is the Follow Your Heart ranch dressing. Their blue cheese is really good too. I used to get the Just Ranch, and that is fucking delicious, but I don't know where to get it. I can't find it anywhere, and it's definitely more expensive. But that Follow Your Heart ranch dressing we use a lot. I think it's delicious. I have non-vegan friends who buy that over regular ranch dressing because they think it tastes so good. I think it's pretty spot on. Okay, sour cream. I have never found a store-bought one that I like. Just really can't find one that I like. The new ones come out and I'm so stoked. I'm like, ugh. I take one bite and I'm like, that's not good. I always just make my own. Always. I just can't spend the money on them. I will keep trying new ones, but they're just not good to me. Just not worth it. So I make my own, and it's really easy. It's really delicious. It's just cashew based. I will leave my link for my recipe in the show notes because I just think my recipe is a million times better than anything you can buy in the store. I even went and bought the new Follow Your Heart sour cream because people have been raving about it and saying it's so good. Again, it's super expensive. It's a big tub, but it's super spendy. And I just didn't like it. I was really excited to get a sour cream that maybe I could just go buy and keep on hand. I just didn't like it. It like has a weird aftertaste. The texture is really spot on, like really sour cream like, but this, I don't know, it just had a weird taste. I don't know. It's definitely the closest. So if you're gonna buy one, buy that one for sure if they have that option, the Follow Your Heart option, but I would not personally ever buy that again. And the last thing on my dairy list is ice cream. My favorite, I don't think I have a favorite. That's the best thing about vegan ice cream is all of them are pretty damn good. Like there's so many good vegan ice cream options out there. Again, when I first went vegan 10 years ago, they were like not good. It was like that icy, watery-ish ice cream where it just wasn't creamy. And now they got the recipes down. Coconut Bliss. They used to have a ton more options, and I don't know what happened. They rebranded and got rid of a lot of their flavors, which is fine, but I love coconut-based dairy products because it's typically creamy, and like that's what I'm looking for. Trader Joe's, their chocolate ice cream, their vegan chocolate ice cream, I don't know. There is something about it that I love so much. It just like tastes like fudgesicles from like back in my childhood days. I don't know what it is, but I love the shit out of that ice cream. The Ben & Jerry's vegan ice cream is there's so many vegan ice creams out there. Like seriously, just start working your way through them. I feel like you're going to be surprised at how good most all of them are. So I don't think I really have a favorite. I just kind of like choose what sounds good, and for the most part it's usually pretty fucking good. Okay, before we start talking about my favorite vegan meat swaps, let's talk a little bit more about Holier. Again, Holier is a plant-based wellness brand designed for the needs and values of plant-based people, aka me and probably you, people who eat this way. That's who these multivitamins are made for. The multi for plant-based people includes 8 vitamins and minerals that are usually missing or a little bit harder to come by on a plant-based diet, and they use bioavailable forms that your body can actually absorb, which is so important. You don't want to be taking a multivitamin and your body's not even absorbing the nutrients. One of the things that I love about Holier is that they're made with food-based nutrients. Unlike other multivitamins that primarily use synthetic ingredients, the multi for plant-based people uses nutrients that are directly derived from plant-based sources or naturally grown with plant-based sources. They use sources plant-based people know and love, like algae, rice, and chickpeas. They don't contain any synthetic fillers or colorants. It's always third-party tested. They're made in the USA, and they're better for the planet. Most vitamin brands still use plastic bottles. I hate plastic bottles. Not stoked on that. And with Holier, you receive a glass bottle on your first order, and you get to keep that, and then your refills just come in compostable packs that you open up, pop in the bottle. So you're not just wasting a bunch of plastic bottles, which is amazing. That's how it should be. So if you're interested in trying out Holier, then definitely use my code HowToVegan, and you'll get 20% off for first-time customers. A link with a pre-applied discount will be in the show's description, so just open that up, click on the link, and you'll be ready to get your first order sent to you ASAP. Okay, so now let's talk about some of my favorite vegan meat swaps or alternatives. And just a heads up, I like my SWAPS to be like as realistic as possible. I know some people think that's gross, and that's totally fine. Like, if you don't want your burger to be like a regular burger, that makes sense. I'm one of the vegans that like wants it to be as close as possible to the real thing. I mean, yeah, I guess that is what I mean. It sounds weird to say, but I didn't stop eating meat and cheese and eggs and dairy and all that stuff because it was gross. I always thought it was tasty. I just didn't want to harm animals in the horrific ways that animals are harmed for me to eat that food. So I like my alternatives to be pretty close to the real thing. So keep that in mind. If you're not one of those people, then you might not like some of my suggestions here, but that's how I like them. So let's start with burgers. My favorite vegan burger is the Impossible Burger. I just think it's the most similar to a real burger, flavor and texture wise. I just think it's tasty, and I think it could fool a lot of people if you gave them one of those. I don't know if a lot of people would be able to tell that it was vegan. I just think it's tasty and realistic. And if you haven't had the Impossible Whopper from Burger King, you should try it because it's fucking delicious. It's so good. I made like a review video of it on my YouTube channel, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the show notes for that. And I also have an episode talking about whether the Impossible Burger is vegan or not, because some people say it isn't. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, go check that episode out. But that one's my favorite. The Beyond Meat burgers are really good too. Like, I don't have anything against them. It's just if I were to choose, I would choose the Impossible Burger. Okay, bacon. This is kind of the same as like sour cream to me. I just haven't found a good bacon substitute. The non-GMO benevolent bacon by Sweet Earth is probably the best one that I've tried out of any of them because it tastes the most like bacon and smells the most like bacon, but the texture is not right. It's like crumbly and it's just not right to me. It's made of seitan, so like a wheat based, but it doesn't get very crispy, but it does taste good. So that one's probably my favorite if I were to pick. A lot of people like that Light Life Smart Bacon. I didn't think it was good at all. I had never tried it, and I just recently tried it, and I just don't think that is good at all. I don't know. So I don't have a favorite vegan bacon. If you have a favorite vegan sour cream that maybe I haven't tried, or a vegan bacon that I haven't tried, let me know. I know there's lots of like homemade recipes that are great. I've made rice paper bacon. That was pretty decent. And there's lots of different things you can make it out of. Carrots, eggplant. But store-bought, same with homemade. I just haven't found one that I really like can get behind. But most bacon bits are vegan. So I will actually use bacon bits if I'm wanting that like bacony flavor. So in like a tofu scramble, I'll add that, or on salads or whatever. Most of them are vegan. Just check the ingredients to make sure. They're not the best for you. Like, there's food coloring and shit in there, but they're good. Chicken, my favorite vegan chicken. I hardly ever eat vegan chicken. I don't know. Maybe because I haven't found something that's like super tasty, or I just don't know. I just don't crave it that much. I'd rather just like saute up some tofu, to be honest, and kind of season it like chickeny. But if I were to pick a favorite, the Gardein crispy tenders, that's typically what I go for. A lot of people have been saying that Daring brand chicken is really good. I looked for it literally everywhere and I couldn't find it. So, I mean, I didn't look literally everywhere. I went to like a few different places that I thought would have it and I couldn't find it. But I've heard that one's really good. I think there's just new ones coming out all the time. Like Impossible, I think, just came out with some chicken nuggets or chicken of some sort, and people are raving about it. So, but we usually just get the Gardein crispy tenders, and sometimes I'll make like a buffalo chicken salad with it. I hardly ever eat it, but I also really like using soy curls. If you've never tried soy curls, it's just made of non-GMO soybeans that are processed without any chemicals or anything like that. And it's kind of like chopped up chicken breast is kind of like the texture that it has in like strips. Really good in stir fries. That's like, I love using soy curls, and like they come dry. I'll leave a link for the ones that I use. They come dry and then you rehydrate them in water, and then you can like marinate them and cook them up, and they're really good in stir fries. So if you haven't tried soy curls and you're looking for that kind of like chewy chicken replacement, try those. They're really good. Ground beef. Hardly ever eat ground beef, but my favorite one is the Impossible, like the packaged ground beef that you can break apart and flavor yourself. Beyond makes one too, I think. I like the Impossible one, again, better. You can add that to like chili and make your own burger patties with it. I hardly ever do, but the Impossible is one that I like if I were to choose. Sausage, my favorite vegan sausage is the Beyond Meat Beyond Sausage brats. So good. I used to be a huge bratwurst fan, like love that shit. now that sounds so gross to actually eat like an actual bratwurst, but the Beyond Meat sausage brats are pretty damn tasty. If you haven't tried them yet, they're really, really good. I even like them in like a marinara, like slice them up, cook them in a little like olive oil and garlic and add like some marinara sauce to it over pasta. So good. Also good like on a bun or whatever, but that's my favorite sausage. Favorite breakfast sausage is the Light Life, like kind of like ground sausage in like a little tube and you break it apart. That's the best breakfast sausage I've found. I've heard that maybe Beyond just put one out that's pretty tasty. My issue with like the Gardein ones and some of the other ones I've tried is they're really small and I like to put them on like a breakfast sandwich. So that's kind of my issue with some of those ones that are out there. But I know that new ones have come out that I haven't tried. So, but that Light Life little tube, I'll usually just like season it up a little more with like maple syrup and some fennel and a little more salt, and that is pretty tasty. My favorite deli meat is the Tofurkey hickory smoked plant-based deli slices. You can find those pretty much anywhere. I like the hickory smoked because it actually like has like a kind of like smoked turkey flavor. I'll try the other ones and it doesn't really have much of a flavor to me. So these ones are smoky, it has a good texture. You can find it pretty much anywhere. That's definitely my favorite. But I prefer like homemade seitan. Casey makes a really good homemade seitan like loaf thing in the oven and you slice it up. It's super cheap. It's made from vital wheat gluten and some water and soy sauce and spices. I'll find the recipe that he kind of goes off of and I'll leave it in the show notes if you want to make your own, because it is way cheaper. It makes a ton and it's way cheaper than buying like the deli meat slices. So if you would prefer to make it yourself, I'll leave that recipe because I think it's definitely way better. But store-bought wise, the Tofurkey hickory smoked is where it's at. Pulled pork, if you're looking for a pulled pork substitute, jackfruit, just the jackfruit in the can and you just season it up. Very tasty, definitely my favorite. I've never tried any of the actual like store-bought SWAPS, so that's why I say the jackfruit is my favorite. Also, I just think it's good, but I've never tried any of the store-bought SWAPS. They just look kind of weird to me. I was never like that big a fan of pork, so jackfruit's my go-to. Hot dogs. Hot dogs sound so gross to me now, but I used to like hot dogs. I thought they were good. So my favorite swap is the Light Life Smart Dogs. They have jumbo ones too. It's been a while since I've had them because I just make carrot dogs now. If you want my recipe for carrot dogs, that's my go-to. All my non-vegan friends ask for carrot dogs if we're doing a barbecue. They sound so gross, like a hot dog made of a carrot, but they're so good. Try them out if you haven't. I think you'll be surprised. And they're way healthier because they're made of a carrot, so you can have like 900 and not be like, I just ate 900 Light Life Smart Dogs. Shit. So I usually do carrot dogs, but the Light Life Smart Dogs, I think I usually get the jumbo. I think those are the most similar in flavor. New ones have been coming out though. Like I've heard that the field roast, like classic smoked plant-based Frankfurters are really good. I was going to buy them, but again, they're like $8 and I just like don't want to spend that much money to try a hot dog. So I think there's probably new ones out that are better than the Light Life, but if I'm going to go camping and want some, those are usually the ones that I'll get. Okay, a little like seafood options. Fish tenders / fish sticks. Fish sticks. Still funny to me. I didn't like the Gardein ones. Like, I just think those were not good. It's been a while since I tried them, but I just thought they weren't good. But I know people that like them. They have like fish tenders or whatever they're called. I've seen some really good homemade recipes on YouTube. I'll try to find some and link them for ones that are like, it's like tofu, I think, based and wrapped in nori and then like fried. And they look really good and people say they're good. I haven't tried it yet. I don't really like miss fish sticks very much, but crab cakes, definitely miss crab cakes. But once I found out a recipe based off of like hearts of palm, love them. I have a recipe on my YouTube channel for them. They're so good with like a remoulade sauce and they're just so similar to crab cakes. So good. So I haven't tried any of the like vegan store-bought ones. They just don't look good. And for things like shrimp, fish, other meats that aren't even like seafood, you should definitely check out your local Asian market because ours has tons of vegan stuff like this. Like so much, like vegan shrimp, they have vegan duck, vegan, all of the things. So check that out if you haven't checked out your local Asian market because they might have stuff. It honestly blows my mind. I'm like, wait, why do you have so many options? I hardly ever go there. And again, don't really make much with that stuff, but the options are out there. So go check. Okay, so let's talk about some eggs now, some egg stuff. Scrambled eggs. My favorite would have to be the Just Egg. Really definitely the only good scrambled egg store-bought product out there. It's made out of mung bean protein. It's pretty tasty. You can make like little patties with it if you want it on a sandwich. You can scramble it up, but you can make your own for a lot cheaper. So if you're into that, I'll leave a recipe. It doesn't use tofu or chickpeas. It's mung bean based, like Just Egg, and it's really tasty and a lot cheaper. But if you're looking for a store-bought, the Just Egg is pretty good. But I usually just make a tofu scramble. But if you're looking for easy, the Just Egg is pretty tasty. And eggs for baking, my favorite is just flax egg. I just find that works the best. To like get one egg is just a tablespoon of ground flaxseed and 3 tablespoons of water. Mix it up, let it sit there for a minute, and it gets all gelatinous and thick, and you use it like an egg. And I have found that it works really, really well. So that's what I use for baking. And then as far as like fried eggs and over easy eggs, there are recipes out there. I haven't found anything store-bought, and I've never made like a recipe like that. They seem kind of involved, but I'll leave a couple recipes for stuff like that in the show notes if I find something that looks good, because there are recipes. There's recipes for pretty much everything out there, but as far as store-bought goes, I can't really find anything like that. Okay, so now just a couple little miscellaneous items because I wanted to talk about some of my favorites as far as these go. Boxed mac and cheese. My favorite is the O Organics brand. It's an Albertsons brand. I think Safeway is the same as Albertsons. So if you have one of those in your area, check it out. It's the O Organics brand. They have it in gluten-free too. It's super easy. It's literally exactly like the Kraft macaroni and cheese, where you make the noodles and then you put in some milk and some butter and melt that, and then add in the packet of like powdered cheese. So it's really easy. It's salty, which I really like. Some of the other ones I've tried are just kind of bland. This one just reminds me the most of like that crafty flavor. I think Kraft just came out with one that's vegan. I don't think it's available maybe in the US yet, but that one's my favorite. It's a good flavor overall. At first I would take a bite and I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. And then I eat the whole box and I'm like, oh my God, apparently I liked it. And then my tummy hurt. So maybe don't eat the whole box if you do that. But that's my favorite boxed mac and cheese as of now. Frozen pizza. My favorite frozen pizza are the Daiya gluten-free pizzas. There's lots of different options. There's like cheese lovers, pepperoni, fire roasted vegetable, supreme meat lovers, more of them as well. There's lots of different flavors. All of them that I've tried are good. It's like a thin, crispy crust. You pop them in the oven, like a traditional, frozen pizza. What else the fuck would you do? They're really flavorful. I think eating like a half of one of those with a big salad is just a satisfying, like easy pizza dinner. Those are my fave. And honey. I wish I had found a good honey substitute because I genuinely kind of like miss the taste of honey. If you're interested in knowing why honey isn't vegan, I have an episode called What's the Deal with Honey, all about it. Same with eggs. What's the deal with eggs? So if you're interested in kind of like diving into why I don't eat some of these things, I've got episodes out there to kind of explain why, but I haven't found a good honey substitute. I just use maple syrup or date syrup, but there are vegan honeys out there. I just haven't tried them. There's like a bee-free organic vegan honey. It has super mixed reviews online, and I'm like, I don't really want to spend the money. I've heard you can make your own out of like apples too, so I just use maple syrup or date syrup. Some people use agave. It's maybe too sweet for me. I don't know. I don't love agave. So if you have a honey substitute that you think like tastes like honey, let me know because I kind of miss that flavor in my life. And then as far as like candy and chocolate and stuff like that goes, you should listen to my vegan candy episode that I put out around this time last year. It was like right before Halloween, I think. There's lots of vegan candy out there. If you're into milk chocolate, they even make vegan milk chocolate now. I usually just use like dark chocolate, but there's lots of vegan candy out there. There's lots coming out all the time. Listen to that episode if you're wanting to know like what vegan candy there actually is, like what the options are. And I think that's it. I think those are like the main vegan swaps that I wanted to talk about. Again, if there's something that you wanted me to mention, okay, it keeps popping into my head, so I'm just going to mention it because I mentioned it earlier. Eggnog, because that season is near. The So Delicious eggnog is the best. Like that one's just creamy, it's thick, it tastes like eggnog. Like that one's my favorite. I wasn't going to talk about eggnog, but since I mentioned it earlier, I just wanted to talk about which one was my favorite. Okay. I think that's it. I think that's all of the swaps that I'm going to talk about today. If I missed anything, or if there's something else you want me to cover, then maybe I'll do a part 2 possibly, or maybe you can ask me and I'll just answer you. So yeah, I think that's it. I hope you liked this episode. I thought it was a fun thing to kind of share what my favorites are. I'm so curious to know what everyone's favorites are because everyone has different tastes, and it's just so interesting because there's so many options out there, and I thought it'd just be fun to chat about my favorites. If you're not following me on Instagram, then go check out my Instagram. It's just at How to Vegan Podcast, and then my personal Instagram is linked in the bio, so you can check both of those out. I've been kind of MIA on Instagram lately. I used to post a lot, but I've just been really enjoying family time and just been feeling like I needed a little break, but I'll probably dive back in soon. So definitely go follow me there for updates on new episodes, and I do polls asking, what episodes you want to hear and stuff like that. So definitely go follow me on the old IG. Make sure you're subscribed on your favorite listening platform. Turn on your auto downloads so you'll be able to listen to the new episodes no matter where you are, even if you don't have service, which is always really, really nice. If you haven't left a review on Apple Podcasts yet for the podcast, please do. It makes such a difference. It's so helpful for the podcast. Kind of pops it up there in the search algorithm, and it's just helpful. So if you haven't left a review yet and you like the podcast, please go do that. It really would mean a lot to me. Make sure to share this episode with anybody that you think might be interested. Like if you have someone in your life that's a brand new vegan and doesn't know where to start, share this episode. I think it'd be really helpful for me if I was a new vegan to be like, oh my God, there's a million products, at least somewhere to start. Again, they might not think that this stuff is good for their taste buds, but it's a good place to start to have like a jumping off point. So yeah, go ahead, share that vegan love. It feels good. The ripple effect is so real. You're going to tell someone about this episode, they'll listen to the episode, maybe another episode, tell someone else. You never know who you can get to eat more vegan just by sharing some content that you think is valuable and helpful. For the full show notes for this episode, including links to everything that I mentioned, click on the link in the description of this episode. Or you can just head straight there, go to kristenpound.com/podcast, and it'll take you right there. And you can find the show notes. Everything that I mentioned will be linked there. If you have any ideas for an episode, hit me up, DM me, let me know. Like, I love adding episodes to my list because I have so many episodes I want to do. I'm so excited to just keep getting through them. But if you have an idea, I would love to know what it is because you guys have some of the best ideas. If you have any questions about anything I mentioned or anything you want to share, come find me again on Instagram. You can hit me up there. If you haven't joined my Facebook group yet, it's called How to Vegan. It's a good place to kind of connect with other vegans. So go do that as well if you're interested. Again, thank you so much to Holier for sponsoring today's episode. If you're looking for a multivitamin that'll kind of like cover your bases, then definitely try them out. Use my code HowToVegan. Again, you'll get a 20% discount if you're a first-time customer. Just click on the link in the description. You don't even have to go to my website, just the description of this podcast. Click on it and it'll take you right to their website and the discount will be already applied. Thanks again for listening. I love you, especially those of you that listen all the way to the end. Love you, love you. Y'all are the best. And I'll just catch you in the next episode of the How to Vegan podcast. Bye.